Hi, this is Pervin Malhotra. For parents who are agonizing over their kids' screen time, I have some good news for you. Let me explain. Just a few months ago, the sight of our kids staring into screens first thing in the morning would have caused panic. Now, Monday to Friday, Saturday and Sunday, the screens are on. And as the pandemic rages, refuses to budge, kids are turning to TV, tablets, video games more than they typically would. In fact, TV streaming platforms and app downloads have recorded a massive spike since the pandemic began. And although parts of this time in front of screens is related to remote learning in virtual classrooms, children's screen viewing has skyrocketed. Channels like the Cartoon Network, Disney Channel, Discovery Kids have reported spikes in viewing by as much as 75% in a single week. It's jarring to see kids glued to Doraemon at 8 a.m. And after years of following guidelines to limit their media exposure, it's hard for parents not to wonder whether all of this screen time is okay. And after years of following guidelines, what do? Do you completely upturn those guidelines? Will going from strictly limiting our children's media exposure to a cartoon free for all harm them? Isn't screen time still bad? Not necessarily. Parents need to stop thinking about screen time in a negative way. Even the phrase screen time itself is problematic, meaning some people think all screens are bad. This reduces the debate to a black and white issue when the reality is much more nuanced. In the sense that certainly present screen time recommendations, no screen time for children under 18 months, and 1 hour of daily high quality programming for 2 to 5-year-old kids, yes, we've been hearing, don't really account for the reality of how we use media. Sure, our kids use screens to watch cartoons, but they also need them to connect with teachers, classmates, grandparents. Focusing on time can cause a lot of us to feel guilty when a FaceTime chat with Dadi pushes our kids' screen use beyond what's recommended. Not to mention a pandemic that has us juggling work and the demands of children who need near constant attention. The American Academy of Pediatrics they issued a statement which reflects a different approach. While it speaks of increasing screen media use among kids during the pandemic, it does not offer alternate time limits. Instead, it urges the parents to preserve offline experiences, the time you spend with your kids when they are not on screen. That is so important. And this lack of specific time limits is deliberate. What the American society is trying to do is they're trying to prevent parents from feeling guilty, like as if you're not meeting some sort of a standard. There is no science behind this right now. But if you are looking for specific time limits, then I would say tell the kids, don't be on it all day. It's understandable that parents might want some concrete guidance on how to ensure that their kids' screen exposure is healthy and balanced. But instead of focusing on how much time your child spends in front of the screen, I think it would be better to approach their media usage in terms of who they are, what they're watching, and how they are interacting with what they're watching. This is the 3 C's framework: the child, the content, and the context. You know your child better than anyone else, and therefore you are the best person to decide what and how much media use is fine. You don't need anybody, you don't even need me to tell you that. So for example, say your child is the anxious type, then what should you do? avoid using, make sure that they don't watch stuff like news, which is all bad and scary, or a scary video. If your child likes music, find programs that incorporate singing, like a musical with a soundtrack that you can listen together. In terms of content, what matters is quality more than the quantity of time or the size of the screen being used. And this holds true for children of all ages. For kids who are younger, try to prioritize the content developed by trusted and reputable sources. There is a site, you could go there, might find it useful. It's called Common Sense Media. So, what it does is that it offers age based recommendations for movies, TV, books, apps, and games, which can be good starting places to look for ideas or to learn more about the media your kids are already using. कि भाई सही देख रहे हैं कि नहीं देख रहे हैं, Then you have live cameras in zoos, and I've seen these. What they do is they mimic real life at a realistic pace, which has been shown to lessen overstimulation in the kids when developing brains. छोटे बच्चों के जो brains होते हैं, they're developing brains. They get overexcited when you sort of assault them with a barrage of sensory experiences. So आराम से they can be watching the safari and then some researchers believe actually that fast-paced stimulating shows like PJ Masks, which all our kids are watching, are more likely to trigger attentional problems in children over the long term than slower-paced stuff that's more relatable and less distracting. Older kids may turn to video games, which many experts say are not associated with violent behavior necessarily. Remember that teens playing video games are also maintaining social relationships during a time when face-to-face interactions are limited. Finally, we come to the context. How we interact with our kids around the media also matters. As parents, do engage with your kids, especially the little ones, during their screen time. Don't leave them all by themselves. Taking an interest in what your kids are watching and what they are doing builds their sense of self-esteem. Clearly, this won't be possible if you are hoping the TV will distract your toddler away from your Zoom chat. Your kids can also connect in real time with friends or other family using apps like Microsoft Teams, Zoom, etc., which allows your child to read a book or color with someone remotely. So you could facilitate, these kind of interactions. So, bottom line, parents, relax. You can let your hair down a bit, because when it comes to screen time, remember what matters is the child, the content, and the context. So bye for now, until our next session.